Right, y'all. So I am the chocolate and God is the thunder. Because of that, I'll never go under. Okay, so I'm about to read some we're gonna do some more reading. Got some Ritz crackers here. Oh, they doing it, y'all, already. These are the snowflake ones, okay? So they're doing it up already, y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pour me some out here. Thanks, Mariah, for encouraging my heart. And I got me some Ritz crackers. Okay, this time I got the ones with the salt in them. Yes, Lord. I gotta turn this on because I gotta see y'all. Yeah, you can't be drinking Ritz crackers. You can't be eating Ritz crackers and don't have no water. Uh. You could never just eat one Ritz cracker. Just take out that salt on the front of it. Y'all, get y'all some Ritz crackers. Y'all, Mariah can buy all the Ritz crackers she wants. Okay, so let me continue. Our father is such an interesting man. He is. He really is. And, he did pass away, from complications from cancer. But the whole thing about that is at least they were on good terms. That is wonderful. That's a beautiful thing. The things that she remembered about her father, I mean, yes, she did want his attention more and things like that. But even with that, she still remembers some good times with her dad. That's kids for you, though. Children will remember the good times. Children will remember the good times. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so I left off about them going to the racetrack. All right, so when we were on our drives or at the racetrack, I'm sorry, in case people don't know, I am reading from Mariah Carey, The Meaning of Mariah Carey. This is her memoir. Okay. I'm reading about, the relationship with her and her father, what she writes. Okay, so it says, when we were on our drives or at the racetrack, I was often just around when he did regular adult things. While he listened to or watched football, which he loved, and which I found extremely boring, I would be close by, quietly reading or drawing, observing the ways of an adult. My father did have a few books just for me in his home. The one I remember most distinctly was about a little black boy who was blind. The cover was white with large red, orange, and yellow circles. It was full of colors and told the story of a boy who saw the world through touching and feeling shapes rather than through color. When I think of that storybook, I think of Stevie Wonder. Reading it, I wondered if this was the reason why Stevie Wonder could create such vivid worlds and emotions through his songs. He was seeing without eyes. He was seeing with his soul. Stevie Wonder is by far the songwriter I respect and love the most. He is beyond genius. I believe he writes songs from a holy place. That's, why? I believe that too. I think that having this book about the blind black boy was one way my father attempted to introduce the concepts of racism and perception to me, because we really didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about the shades and the shapes of us. Perception was also very important to my father. Once, while drawing alongside him on a quiet Sunday afternoon, I made what I thought was a very clever cartoon. It was a picture of our family with the caption, "They're weird, but they're okay." But when I showed it to my father, he got really upset. Why would you say we're weird? No, why would you say we're weird? He demanded. I was shaken by his stern tone, and I had no idea why the idea made him angry. I don't know. I probably heard it somewhere, I said. In my cartoon, I had also added, but they're okay, which I thought was optimistic. It was a little tongue-in-cheek. With an absolute seriousness that chilled me, he said, don't ever say that. I never intended to offend him. In fact, I wanted to delight him. I felt really bad that day, but the heavy load he carried, his deep desire to be accepted as a full human being, was something I wouldn't learn about until much later, something I am still trying to make peace with. At the time, I didn't have the language to tell him that weird was how I felt. I didn't know how to say that was how I felt. Other people saw us as weird. I thought everything was weird. My hair was weird. My clothes was weird. My siblings and their friends were weird. My mother and all the shabby places we lived with her, they were all weird. I thought the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship was a weird church. We had started attending when the family was still together. The five of us would go to this old medieval-style stone castle with thick walls and a tall tower filled with a congregation of what looked like every odd person on the island. To my little girl self, it appeared like the Church of Misfit Toys at a Renaissance fair. Mariah has a way of speaking in this book. I just love it. I love the way she is using her words to almost like paint a picture of how she's seen things as a child. So I could just imagine her little face when she was in that church. She probably was looking like, what is this? I could just imagine, okay? Especially when people probably came up to her and said, hey, little girl, what's your name? She probably really got weirded out. Oh, boy, okay? So it says, the pastor, who was formerly Jewish, had changed his name from Ralph to Lucky. Ooh, that's funny. Reverend Lucky? Like, I never heard nobody do that. Reverend Lucky? Okay. The teens would go up in the tower and do whatever weird things teens did. Even as a little girl, I knew this was not my scene. But my father, though, the only black person, felt like he was accepted there among the other outsiders. So he stayed at that fellowship forever. I don't think my father understood how we were different from everyone in the neighborhood. I lived with my mother. It was weird to be living in a makeshift apartment on top of a deli when everyone else lived in a house. We lived in a small commercial section of Northport where there was a strip of stores on the ground level of a cluster of Victorian houses. They were small town businesses. A bicycle shop, maybe a general store, and the deli. A staircase alongside the deli's entrance led up to a small, dim railroad-style apartment where I lived with my mother and Morgan. I had a room at the end of the hall no bigger than a typical walk-in closet. The apartment was small. The floors were covered in pea green carpeting, and the walls and doors were thin. The sound of laughing and voices often kept me awake at night. I had very few things in that tiny room that brought me comfort. The most precious, perhaps, were gifts from my father, a little ceramic bunny and a sweet molasses-colored teddy bear named Cuddles, which I kept until it was destroyed many years later after a flood in a Manhattan apartment that was on top of a bar and nightclub. Apparently, there are levels to living on top of establishments, and I have gone through all of them. I remember when you used to tuck me in at night with the teddy bear you gave to me that I held so tight. That's from her song Bye Bye. Okay. Even with cuddles by my side, I frequently had nightmares. And it was in that dismal apartment where my troubles with sleep first began. I don't recall anyone else living around there. And there was certainly no other black people for miles. Morgan's was the only afro in sight. Once after he got in trouble, my mother meekly admonished him to stay in his room. Shortly after, the owner of the deli downstairs called my mother to inform her that he was watching her son jump from rooftop to rooftop above the other stores. Morgan had climbed out of the window onto the rooftop and was making a daring escape. He eventually went down onto the roof and was making a daring escape. Okay, wait a minute. He eventually went through a phase when he shaved his head bald and would wear karate pants with the snake casually wrapped around his neck. He would walk through the town looking like a punk ninja, full of anger, hoping, why did she say punk ninja? Why did she say that? Did she say punk ninja? I never heard of that. Punk ninja, full of anger, hoping to find a fight. Even without his hair, he was impossible to miss. My father might not have liked me calling the Careys weird, but weird things certainly happened to us. Every now and then, Allison would crash into the apartment like a meteor, and friends of hers and Morgan's would hang out all night. One night, Allison booked me as the entertainment. Earlier that day, she taught me the song White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane. It was an odd selection for sure, but I figured maybe she liked it because the refrain of Go Ask Alice sounded close to her name. When I was brought out to the living room to perform, all of the lights were out, and I was surrounded by burning candles and a circle of teenagers, as well as my mother. Watching Allison's face for approval, I let out the first verse. One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small. And the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. A song about taking drugs. That's what I was thinking. I was reading these lines. I said, wait a minute. That sounds like drugs. That sounds like some type of pills. Why they have Mariah singing this song? I had to have a rich cracker break. Okay. A song about taking drugs and tripping is not typical or appropriate lyrical content for a little girl. But I sang it because my big sister taught it to me. I love nothing more than learning and singing songs. But this one was full of scary images. The white knight talking backward, and the red queen's off with her head, and what seemed to me like creepy nonsense, the hookah smoking caterpillar. What? Of course I wondered what this song was about, and why I was singing it in the dark. It was past midnight, and while all the other kids my age were nestled in their beds, I was belting out Feed Your Head for a candlelit gathering of wannabe hippie teens conducting a pseudo seance. Tell me that's not weird. That's weird. See you next Sunday. That was our thing. My father and I gave that little promise to each other with a wave each week as I left him to return to life with my mother. But as I grew older, my seriousness as a singer-songwriter began to swiftly envelop my whole world. I was in the profession by the time I was 12. My father did not see it or support it, largely because he did not understand it. Music as a career was not logical to him. When I talked about writing poetry and singing, he would shift the conversation to grades and homework. He didn't see the focus and discipline I was cultivating as an artist. He didn't see how I was learning the craft, sitting in on jam sessions with accomplished jazz musicians with my mother and developing the skills of scatting and improvisation. That's a tongue twister. Improvisation. Okay. He never saw how I spent hours writing, enriching my ear, and studying popular music trends on the radio. Above all, we had a fundamental difference in belief. I followed my heart, while he was guided by his fear of not being accepted. From that awful, auspicious day, when Nana Reese laid her hands on me and spoke into my heart, I truly believed anything I wanted was possible. It was real to me, absolute. My father did not believe anything was possible. On the contrary, he expected the world to vehemently deny his desires, not the least of which was dignity. Alfred Roy was a man who lived his entire life under threat of humiliation and dehumanization as a result of his identity. He placed all his hope in the notion that societal respect would be awarded him through his discipline, diligence, and excellence on traditional institutional tracks like academics, service to your country, and respectable work. His other two children had all the makings of great students. When they were younger, he demanded that they produce all A's on their report cards, and mostly they did. Yet he would still sometimes question why each A wasn't accompanied by a plus. The only class I excelled in was creative writing, in which I was always in the advanced group, but I was tragic in mathematics and really couldn't connect with most other subjects or material. The two potential academics took terrible turns in their teens, fulfilling a black father's greatest fears. The boy had been institutionalized, placed in the precarious care of the state, the first stop on a dangerous fast track to becoming a statistic. And the girl, pregnant before her 16th birthday, had already arrived at one. Let me stop there real quick. You see, unfortunately, her father focused so much on, he didn't want his kids to become this. He didn't want his kids to become that. He focused on that so much and gave it so much energy that he didn't even realize that even by constantly saying and focusing on, I don't want them to be this. I don't want them to be that. I don't want them to become a statistic. I don't want them to become a statistic. And he put so much energy into that they became that. They became statistics. It was just like me. When I was young, I used to always say, you know what? My mom was a single mom. I'm not going to be a single mom. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to make sure, I focused on that so much that guess what? I ended up having two children out of wedlock, and I became a single mother because I focused on that so much. Like, I'm not going to become a single mother like in my 20s. When I was like 20, I was like, that's not going to be me. I mean, even before that, you see, we got to watch. We got to speak positive. We have to speak positive. We can't give any negativity. We can't give any energy to negativity. You know what I'm saying? Like if somebody's always saying, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to go to jail. No, let me not say jail. Let me say something else. If someone is always focusing on, I don't want nobody to hit my car. I just bought my car. I don't want nobody to hit my car. I want nobody to hit my car. And they keep saying that and saying that and saying that. And that they park their car so that nobody will hit it. Those are the people that either a shopping cart always hit their car or their car always end up getting hit by another car. Because they were so focused on, I don't want nobody to hit my car. I don't want nobody to hit my car. They did not realize they were subconsciously giving energy to, guess what? Somebody hitting their car. So we got to be very mindful subconsciously of what we give energy to. Let me continue reading. Okay. It says, my father was extremely, and the girl, pregnant before her 16th birthday, had already arrived at one. And I, the baby, who wasn't a wild one, rejected the traditional safe route to a secure career and began to pursue what he saw was an improbable, mysterious, and dangerous path. My father was extremely strict with my siblings, and they would often complain or joke about his tight and eccentric ways to my mother. However, in an effort to shield me from their harsh perspective, I often overheard her tell them, "Don't say that in front of Mariah." There were moments when my father did disappoint me. After Allison was no longer living with him, he went from being a divorced single father to a true bachelor. There were times he wouldn't show up for our dates. As a child, there were them times. I didn't get it, but you kept me in line. I didn't know why you didn't show up sometimes on Sunday mornings, and I missed you. That's from her song, Bye Bye. So over time, our Sunday ritual became sporadic. My music was driving so much of my time and energy by that point. I worked on it every moment I could. I was determined to rise above my conditions, rise above all the people who didn't believe I was going to make it, rise above the sad place my sister had fallen into, rise above my brother's angry dysfunction. I was going to rise above it all, even if that included my father, the one stable family member I had. After paying for one summer at a performing arts camp, the most my father ever did for my career was to warn me about how uncertain and treacherous the entertainment business could be. Years later, I called my father and played Vision of Love from the recording studio, putting the phone receiver up to the Yamaha speaker. "Wow," he said, "you sound like all three Pointer Sisters." He wasn't a big music man, so this comparison was high praise coming from him. It meant he had noticed all of the layers of the background vocals in addition to the strong lead. He was really listening to my song. All I could tell, he was happy with it and with me. After all those years, it was truly validating. Yet even after all I had accomplished, I wasn't immune to the perfectionism he had projected onto his other children. After I had garnered 2 Grammys within my first year in the industry, he remarked, "Maybe if you were a producer, you could win more like Quincy Jones." That same year, the legendary Quincy Jones took home 7 Grammys for his epic project, Back on the Block, which spanned the entire history of Black American music and featured giants from Ella Fitzgerald and Miles Davis to Luther Vandross. I had done astonishingly well as a new artist who had written her own hit songs. And here my father was comparing me to arguably one of the greatest musical giants the industry has ever known, with decades of experience and endless accolades and honors to his name. I was immediately thrust back to my childhood, as if my 2 Grammys were 2 A's on my report card, and he was asking me what had happened to the pluses. I think my success in music scared him because he had no idea about and seemingly no influence on how I'd arrive. He didn't ask and I didn't tell. Gradually, next Sunday turned into a month of Sundays. I had to let go of our Sundays so I could manifest my own day in the sun. Wow. That is deep. Oh, that is deep, y'all. Oh, that is powerful. Okay? Woo, woo. That is something. She said she had to let go of our Sundays so she could manifest her own day in the sun. Ooh. Ooh, sometimes we have to do that. Ooh, we have to let people. Woo. Ooh, that's deep. Ooh, that's deep. And I don't want to say anything disrespectful about her dad because he is no longer here. He is deceased. May he rest in peace. To me, he did the best he can. He did the best he could based on what he knew. So if he would have known better and how to do things better with Mariah Carey, he would have done so. He would have done so. So we're going to leave that at that. Amen. Amen. I'm not gonna, talk about the man in a bad way, and he's not even he's no longer here with us. So, and I want to make sure I show respect. All right. Well, I'm gonna continue this, y'all. Later on, I'm gonna read some more, y'all. These chapters, they're not short like y'all think. Okay, so I'm gonna read some more. I'm gonna pick what I'm gonna read, and we're gonna go ahead and dig right on in. And tomorrow, I think I'm gonna do some pictures. Ooh, these are some beautiful pictures. Ooh, my goodness. Mariah comes from beautiful women. Even on her dad's side, too. Beautiful women. She comes from some beautiful looking ladies. She do. Her mama, her daddy was a good looking man, and on her father's side, the women were beautiful, and her mom is beautiful. So all that makes a difference. She got a beautiful face. Mariah's very pretty. I think she was also very pretty when she was young. She's just a pretty woman, pretty face lady. All right, y'all. Well, y'all be blessed. Until again.